just thinking about what was it that when I went overseas the first time, what like felt so free to me, because you can look at travel in one way, just say, oh, you're there or you're here. What's the fucking difference, right? But I had this there was this very deep sense of refreshing feeling, like freedom from something. And I really, when I first started traveling, I didn't know what it was, and I struggle to explain it. But it was, and I'll try now, and we're just actually talking about it before we started recording, but it's kind of like the freedom of talking about the same things, or the freedom of the same mindsets. Like when I go home now, see if you can groove with this, see if you can see what I'm saying. So when I go home now, I went home and I saw one of the family friends, right? They've all passed away now, but I went to the Hamrose house, and I said, went into the father was there and the mother, and they invited me back because I was like good friends with their son and in the neighborhood and everything, and she was like telling me what's going on in my neighborhood and stuff, and I was like, who's doing what? I was like, oh, cool, and they were the one family that was always respected me as a kid. Like, he gave me a little present to graduate high school, like they kind of like were cool to me, even though I really didn't know them that well, but they were just nice adults. And so I stopped by, right? So then she said, she started to go on this, like you could just see her face kind of just kind of morph into like a demon or something, right? And she was like super angry that there was some kind of vote on a local, there's like this place and they're going to build a shopping mall, or they're not going to, right? And she was like so against it, right? And she was just like very, very worked up about this thing in her neighborhood, and it shocked me because I, just coming from the outside, I was so happy to be back in the, hometown, and like just checking. It's a beautiful place, right? It's gorgeous. Luckily we moved to a beautiful place. And I was just like thinking, like, it was so dark when she started talking, and I could just tell. I looked at his eyes, and they were a married couple. They were like almost 90. Like they were, so they had this conversation, and I thought, oh shit, and then I kind of escaped that house, right? I always liked him. Her, I didn't know so well. He was a really nice guy. But then I went to somebody else's house, and they went on like this major rampage about something about like what bars had closed, in the town, and like that was such a bummer, and somebody had taken a chainsaw to the bar and taken home part of the bar, and they were just reminiscing the good times when this bar was open, and like there was this like the conversation. And then I looked at what people wore, and they all wore like the same clothes that they wore when I left. Like there was there's this certain kind of like stupid leather sandals that everybody wears and thinks is cool. Like they think they're dress sandals. Like it's I'm from like this beach town, right? So they wear these like certain sandals. Like if you go to like a steak restaurant, you got to wear these sandals basically by law, right? And then if you go anywhere near the boats, everybody dresses like remember Gilligan's Island, right? There was the captain, right? He had the hat and the white jacket. Everybody dressed a certain way. And there was this like, it was like, I don't know, it just like, it felt so, to me, it was like a straitjacket into this small fucking way of looking at the world, and this small area, this nobody, and I don't mean like they weren't interested in international politics. I don't mean that. That's the other side. It was like what they weren't interested in. What they were interested in, what they did talk about was just so, to me, it was painful. Like, and then the conversation would come up like things that we had at church in junior high school that I thought were interesting, like free destination and what's the other one? Free will, right? Like the debates were the same fucking debates. Like, and they would come up in conversation with everybody. And I felt like I was in this like crazy time machine of repeated every day the same, and I just, and like, I even saw people like you could just go on and on the observations, but it was crushing, and I couldn't see, like, there was no way out of it because they weren't really interested in what I was doing. Nobody really cared. Well, nobody could really comprehend what I was doing, to be basically. And to be fair, there's no, how would they, right? But they just kind of like, I felt like I could have fun with them in certain circumstances, but it was just like, boom, there was no, like, the conversation, I just, for me, with expats, is so much more interesting. Because at least they have two cultures. They have this vision. I don't know, I think most people are just so trapped in whatever rote situation they're in, that is just all they see for their whole life, And it's like when you're with expats, they're forced to get out of it somewhat, And I think everybody that came to, like, Japan summits understands a little bit what I'm talking about. Like, nobody talks about the same things here. Like, when you go talk to people, any German expat or whatever, I felt so free to be able to just kind of, like, I never knew what the conversation was going to be about. If it was going to be about just, I just never knew. What was it going to be about? The conversation is different. There's so many kinds of people in the world, and they all grew up in these little places. Now, to them, they're maybe boring, but to me, it's interesting. The first time hearing, something like some Armenian guy telling me about Armenia and, like, the history and the genocide and everything, and, like, and just, oh, now I know about that. And then somebody else will tell me another story, and then some Japanese guy stood up. People were talking bad about America, and he told me, he said, my father was a general in China, and he said the Russians moved all the military towards Hokkaido, and they were going to take Hokkaido, and the U.S. bluffed and said they're going to drop an atomic bomb on Moscow if they invaded Japan. And he said, "You talking bad about America? You're full of shit, you kids." He was a Japanese guy. He was talking to Japanese people, and he said, "If it wasn't for the U.S., we would have never had the bubble. We would have never risen because all the minerals came from Hokkaido. They needed every piece of land in Japan to have what they had. Russia was going to take that? Yeah, Russia was going to take it. Basically, it would have been like North Korea, the border, right? And Japan probably would have never risen. And he knew because his dad was, like, a very high person in the military. And I just listened to two experts talking about, should we have dropped the bomb? And they didn't know this. I've never met anybody in the world who knows this. But this is a guy who was in the Japanese military and knew and told me stuff. And that's what happens when you travel. You hear things that never were known. Maybe they were covered up for some reason. Maybe Japan was ashamed and didn't want it to be known, and so it was covered up. But I have no doubt it was true. I have zero doubt. The guy's face and his look, there's no question he was telling the truth. And it's like when you travel, you see these things and you just experience these things. And for me, I really enjoy that type of learning. Is like learning about the world from people that are there or that bring things to me, right? Experiences. And then when I think of, like, we just watched this video about what women talk about. It's just like, I feel it painful when they just start talking about things that they know I hate, like the patriarchy, and they're trying to get in fights with me. And I feel the anger. It's almost like I feel like a fire because I think sometimes I feel more than I think, you know what I mean? Like that's just my personality. So I can, like, feel, I don't know what words they're saying, but I just feel the heat coming off of them, right? I can't ignore things. Like, if somebody's angry, I can feel it. You know what I mean? It's like, well, something's going on there. And then a more logical, like super logical guy, like Sean won't even know what the fuck. I'm just like, that guy's, I don't know what he's pissed off. That guy's super pissed off. And he's like, what's he pissed off about? How do you know that? It's like, you can just feel it. It's just seething off someone, right? And when I meet, Western women, like, a lot of times it's like you said, like, it's like they have no desire to talk to you. There's just a desire to kind of, like, I don't know what it is, dominate or spit hatred or confuse or control or protect themselves. I don't know what it's just like they're not trying to talk to me. Like, hey, where are you from? Like, are you, like
when you're full of
yeah,
when you're like full of so much like anger and hatred, and resentment, you have to just let it out. It's like boiling up inside of you, and it just consumes you, and almost like a virus, you got to put it out onto everyone else. So you see this happen obviously with women in the West and in like the feminist movements. Not just about that specifically, but just that type of person where they just got to tell everyone and get everyone else to agree with that. And even when I went through like, when I started going through my journey, right, and started realizing that I was lied to about a lot of things and a lot of stuff about society wasn't true. They call it like the red pill rage, whatever. I was very, I was very angry, and I had all these things built up in me, and I just like had to talk to people about it. Like, did you know that actually, and so it was a short phase for me, and I got through that, and I released that, and I realized like that's not who I wanted to be, and I didn't need to hold on to those things. But these other people, it's like they just stay in that, and that becomes their identity. I was, out with my friend, and we were basically got invited over to join this other people from the West for dinner, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, this should be fun. It's like it's like a fun night out, right? So it'll be all good vibes. And this one lady, she was I don't know her exact age, but she's like in her 30s, right? She's like millennial lady. She just started like talking about like patriarchy and how men are like evil and controlled women forever and all this stuff. And
you're basically all guys, right?
Yeah, it's basically all guys, and we're all there sitting at this dinner table, and it's like, the purpose of having dinner is getting good, delicious food, and the purpose of having it with other people is enjoying that food with them and enjoying that social environment. And this is in the middle of a restaurant, a very nice one, So it's like, you should be able to enjoy this, right? Everyone's like, very well behaved, enjoy himself, and small talk. And
would you say she's like a kind of in general a nice person, and was just spitting anger at the dinner table? That's what I find sometimes. Like,
yeah.
Somebody be nice.
Yeah, so she's like a cool lady that we met, and I actually like her. I think she's a cool chick. Her and I actually have a very similar personality. They're very outgoing, kind of very funny, But in this situation, it was like. At the dinner table was like just started going into it, and I'm looking at the other guy. We're trying to give each other, SOS looks like, holy shit, dude, what the fuck did we just sign up for? Because we can't get out of this. We just sat down, the food's ordered, we already agreed to, join this dinner. So now it's like you can't just get up and leave and go, actually, work's calling, And I was hungry, so I was like, I'm gonna eat, but it was just like, and then what's interesting is like, I try to keep it very positive and kind of neutral and find some sort of, way to get past that conversation. No. And it was no way. She wasn't happy. And the more that I tried that, the actually like more riled up she got, and the angrier she got, and she would be like, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Well, let me just play devil's advocate. And would just like fight with me about everything. And it could be something like, some people have, so it could be something like a statement like, society, we've made mistakes, but I think everyone's learning. We're finding a way to move forward and find a better way. And it's like, no, let me tell you something. It's like, for years we've been oppressed, and just like spewing all this hate directed towards men, or at men in general, sitting right in front of two guys, a couple guys, and just like, oh, dude, like you can't say anything. And I couldn't believe it, because I was like, why would you do this? Like, you invited us to have, join for dinner and have, friends all going out. And now it's just like the most miserable place for us to be. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe there's some sort of subconscious, like, trap you in there, and then we're going to tell you what you need to know, or something like that. It was like a punishment in a weird way. But
Right, punishment, yeah.
It was like a punishment in a weird way. But the main thing was, like, this is normally a really cool person, but then just has all this, hatred and anger and resentment built up, which I'm sure there was stuff in her life that actually happened, maybe that would, make sense, that would make him feel that way. But it's not directed at those people, whoever, maybe did it wrong, or a specific person in society that said, yeah, that politician, when that guy passed that law, that was bullshit, that set women back, whatever. I can understand that if it's true. But it was just like all men forever.
You couldn't defend yourself.
You can't defend yourself. You can't defend them. And you can't even really talk about, like, I even try to talk about in a very, like, nuanced way. Like, I try to talk about letting go of things like that, finding peace, because it's like, that kind of stuff will, like, it's like, yeah, life can be pretty, messed up, but, like, it can, if you carry that, it's really heavy. I try, like, every angle possible to not only give us guys a way out, but really give her a way out of her own anger. And
you know what it reminds me of?
Yeah, go ahead.
It totally reminds me of, like, when you were talking, I was just thinking, like, the same thing about, like, the idea of the existence of God. Is you would meet somebody, right, and they have a God, whatever religion it is, and they would say, like, basically, I'm going to prove to you that my God exists, blah, blah, blah. Yep. And it would be an argument that, I'm not saying anything God exists or doesn't exist. I'm just saying that this type of conversation was a trap, because there was no way, nobody was interested in changing, right?
Yeah.
If somebody came up to me and said, look, I've believed in this religion my whole life, but I'm always open to it being total bullshit. Like I'm open to it. Like if somebody shows me that this thing is not true, I'm totally into that. I'm open to that. Like, but right now I believe it's completely true. Here's the reason, blah, blah, blah. It's not like that. There's no sense of scientific inquiry or curiosity and here's the other thing. Every single point is just like what I was talking about at the beginning. Like, it was just repeated points.
Yeah.
So it's not even their own feelings about it. So it's not like they went on an island where they lived until they were 25 and they thought of these ideas on their own. They're just merely repeating like very lazy, very, very lazy people. Just repeating whatever arguments they memorized from some other person, right? And now they're throwing this impossible to destroy argument, because disproving even one point would take weeks, right? Like it would take it would be a lot of work. You'd have to understand Greek and Latin. You'd have to know history. There's a lot you need to know to get into any kind of details.
And even then, so basically, yeah.
Well, they could deny it no matter what you said. But I mean, like you could logically, technically, there might be a way, if there was an AI that was everything was it, they could say, well, here's where this came, that wasn't true. So there maybe is a way to actually disprove or prove the existence of that. Like basically every point just goes to a dead end. These are all dead ends, and unless there's other points that don't have dead ends, then this is not true at this point, kind of thing, right? But it's not even, it's like, I chose this impossible to destroy viewpoint, and I'm going to scream it at other people, and I know that you cannot possibly, like, I have no empathy for you, right? Because I know you can't defend this. Like it's not just the argument. It's just two people, right? So I'm throwing something impossible at you that is very uncomfortable, and I know it is. And I know it's not going to change your mind. And I know that you can't disprove me because it's, basically unprovable. So I'm going to make this moment uncomfortable and repeat an argument that I learned from somebody else, and then I'm going to leave. And then the people wonder why they're lonely. Like, why am I lonely? Why am I taking these depression pills, right? There's no sense of like, hey, we're two people. Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Let's see what we can think, or it doesn't have to be anything deep. It's just like, just talking about ideas, like brainstorming, like, being willing to see each other's viewpoints, being interested in, if the other person is a good conversationalist, right? Enjoying that banter, that interaction, that, like 1 + 1 = 5 kind of thing that happens with good discourse, right?
Yeah.
Is that you actually both see the world differently, at the end, because you're like, actually, that guy had a fucking point, that is totally impossible. Like I've thought that my whole life, but that guy's absolutely right. He was wrong about this, but he was right about that. That's interesting. I got to stop saying that. You know what I mean? Kind of thing, right? Like some sense of what is it? Like life is just not spewing hatred at people, I mean,
I would. That's actually a really great analogy. So basically, comparing to all the people and guys listening to this channel, comparing these types of it's not just women, but these types of women to basically extremely belligerent religious people that we grew up with. And if you're religious yourself, you might be like, oh, wait. But hear me out. Like there's that type of people. We've all seen them. The guy in the middle of the festival with the giant sign that says you're going to hell if you're a sinner, and he's like yelling at people. And if you try to talk to him, it's not like an open, fair conversation. He's not there to have he's not there to actually help you. He's just there to yell at you and make you angry. And in fact, the funny thing is those types of people I've found out, often what they do, this is a side bit, but they're actually running a scam. So they'll do it in a public place or right in front of a business or at a festival. And they're just yelling you're going to hell and all this shit. And
what's the scam?
When you go to get that guy removed because he's just literally driving everyone crazy and causing this massive frustration and he's just totally ruining the whole thing, right? He's a huge nuisance. He knows he's in a place that's technically a public place. So if you try to do anything about it, he'd be like, I was just having I'm in a public place. You can't remove me. And then sues whoever the event or whoever tries to get rid of him.
No.
Yeah. There's
this?
Yes, I know about 100%. And so the guys who are no, but it's I know you can't do anything about it. I'm sorry. You just have to just ignore that guy. And and then that guy will go as far in your face as far as he possibly can to get you to do something, to get you angry, to hit him, to push him, to yell at him, anything, to tell him to get out there, anything, so that he can use that as justification to sue you and get money. No. This is 100%. I know one specific guy does this. You
grew up in the Bible Belt, right?
Yeah. This is in Florida, but I've thought, man, I bet so many of them are doing this scam because the ones who are the most obnoxious in the most public places where nobody is there to, people are drinking, people are partying, people are having fun, going outside a club or a music festival or a Drake concert or something.
Nightclubs and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then they're yelling sinners going to hell. And he's the most hateful rhetoric that's going to fire anybody up and make anyone be like, hey, this guy's out of line. He's got to get out of here. Those types of guys are doing that on purpose. Well, see the other flip side of that. People who are doing this, it's they know what they're doing. I think so they do. They in that dinner story. She knew she had us trapped because we were all sitting. She invited us for dinner. We all started dinner. We all signed up for it.
What's you ordered?
Yeah, it wasn't. It was a kind of meal that where you order and eat as much as you possibly can. So you pay a bigger price and you eat as much as you can. So you're not gonna bail out early. You don't get your money's worth. You got to eat all the fast food. They keep bringing you different courses and stuff. And
she might not have done that on the bus, right?
She
knew she had you trapped.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this is something that they do with intentional thought, consciously. But it was that was the situation. I felt it. I was like, dang it. I'm stuck. And then it just turned up the heat. Just we're in the pan, the lobsters are in there, and now they just turn up the water. And just, it's almost like I got you trapped. Now I can say all this stuff I've been wanting to say the guys for years.
It's not I'll tell you, as an older guy, that was on purpose. Okay. She knew, whether subconsciously or consciously, is that she can punish you once you order. You have to pay once you start eating.
Yeah.
So she knew you were trapped for a period of time.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna go on another table because that would be socially. Then she's gonna talk bad about you. So you're not gonna.
And if you
so
leave,
she knew.
It's totally obvious. You can say that.
Right.
Well, yeah. And if you're trying to I gotta go, then it's obvious that you're doing it because you didn't like what she talked about. So and it's and these are the social talking points that are the the good side, right? So in quotation marks. So it was interesting, but I basically realized, like, from interacting with a lot of women like that.
I think what we're talking about is like yearning for real, I think, human interaction.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. Like yeah, whether it's somebody like that with kind of a, bone to pick, who's gonna, they have like any kind of argument that they just gonna throw on you, just spit fire at you as long as you're trapped, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, it's worse in marriage, right? In marriage, it's like once you put on the ring, then the fire just turns. Or once she's pregnant, when she has the baby, right? Then it's like she knows she's got you, right? That's. I think there's a lot of lessons there. Like one of them is like to always remember that people do this kind of thing. That's why I like to always be unblackmailable as much as possible in every situation, because I know that people do this kind of thing, and I can see it so clearly that I kind of blame myself if I'm stuck there. You know what I mean? Like I hate being stuck there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really hate it because I know better. But sometimes, like, just because of whatever reason, I might be stuck there. And any of those situations I want to fix. I don't want to be stuck there. I don't want to be stuck with some crazy person who's now got me. You know what I mean? Now they got me. And then the real self, like, whatever frustration they're feeling or things they want to blame on people or whatever the fuck it is, any kind of, like, rote argument they want to just spit at me over and over, knowing I hate it, right? Knowing people know, I've had a lot of people in my life try to do this to me, where they just try to give me something so that I'm trapped there. And then it's just like all of a sudden it's kind of like with the Airbnb sometimes is you sign up for an Airbnb and it says 6 people, and then you click, okay and pay. And then it says 1 person. 6, not 6, right? And they say, oh, the software must have done this or that, you got to pay another $1,400 for those other 5 people, right? And it's like after you pay, right? That's the kind of trick. That's basically what it is, That's why you want to be unblackmailable. It's not because you can't commit. It's not because you don't want to be close to people. It's actually because you want to be close to people, that you don't allow yourself to be trapped by some psycho loser who's just spitting stuff and shit at you that just is not even their own ideas, And sometimes it combines with mental illness too. So it can be really ugly, and I think
totally,
I think that's the ultimate when you travel too, is that you can't, especially when you're going like we are now, beach to beach, you're not trapped, right? So it's like you just kind of get out of that. There's ways to get out of it, get out of things easy, right? Because it's not, just by being forced to move, right? It's kind of like when I was working at, the job, Leo Stereo, they would send me to other stores. And then it was, my store, there was a certain image of me and people would say things. And you know what I mean? Like I had my weaknesses, right? And then, I didn't know video as well as I knew audio. So they didn't like me in the video department in this one store. And then I go to another store and they were like, wow, you fucking are great in like sales. Like you can sell it crazy. When it's mad, when it's chaos, I do the best, right? When they're like, it's like 80% off day and there's like millions of people, I just run through and I sell more than anybody. I just like right up there with the top salesman. Whereas when it's like really set, there's no sale, it's like, I don't do as well, It's like when there's chaos and that, and everybody's having fun. And then I sell like crazy, right? And so then this other store was like, fuck, bring this guy to any tent sale. It's called tent sale. He's like, when there's a tent sale, we want him in our store, right? And then they would send me over. And then my store started looking at me differently, right? And they treated me differently because on the good days I was gone, right? And I was making tons of money too. So they kind of changed the way they weren't able to bully me. It wasn't like real bullying, but it was still a little bit. Because the video was big sales, right? He's like $3,000 or $5,000, right? Car stereo is like $1,000, right? So there's more commission, right? And so then I kind of broke out of it. I found a way to break out of it, even though I still did work at that store most of the time. But like people try to trap you and play these games on you, and you just have to find a way to Houdini out of it, to Houdini You know, like, it's almost like they're not bad people. They're just like, I just think of it as a tape recorder on auto reverse, just playing over and over the same concepts, the same arguments, you know, the same fucking, like, I don't want to ever hear the predestination argument in my life ever again, because there's nothing to it. It's just so dumb. It's like, it's these arguments, they were really, they're made to trick you. Like, you kind of feel like it's like a real
kind of forces
argument.
You to take a side.
Yeah, you got to take a side.
Right? It like sucks you into the game.
And your personality takes a side too, right? Yeah. You're like, no, I have free will, you know. What do you say?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, absolutely. Like, those types of things, they just, it's like it automatically makes you be a part of it. The moment it's almost like in a video game where, if anyone's ever played one, where you go up and talk to like one of the characters, like, you know, they call them NPCs, and they only have like so many, they have like a pre-built script, and they only have so many things they can say. And there's sometimes your character can unlock certain dialogue options, like new options, like get him to say something new or tell you something about this cave somewhere. That's like, ooh, that might be cool. I might find some treasure in there. But for the most part, you know, you walk around, you're like, all right, this guy said the same thing 10 times around. All right, I'm gonna. What does he say? You know, it could be anything. It could be someone like, oh, you know, I used to be a great warrior till I took an arrow to my knee, or it could be someone like, this town's like it's not like it used to be. You know, everyone's gone and the young kids don't stay around anymore. But I heard up on the hill there might be someone looking for some help. And it's like the same type of thing. And so you just like, you talk to everybody and finally you're like, oh God, I gotta get out of this little town. Everyone's saying the same shit. There's nothing valuable. I want to go back on my adventure. And that's how it feels sometimes when you go back home or when you're around these people, right? It's, there are people who are also fully, aware and awake, and they're playing the game, and they're like adventure like us, and they're seeing life from a different perspective. But there's so many that are just stuck in this endless loop, and it's like a feedback, right? And they're just playing it back, like you said, like a tape recorder. They're just playing back everything over and over again, and it's not even their own stories. You know, it's not like the old guy who tells the same story 5 times, but it's like a funny story. It's like his best moment of his life. It's like they're repeating stuff that the news told them, or they read in an article, or someone else told them they should think.
I think the reason why I still go back to my hometown, well, obviously because my parents, but like the friends that I knew back then, like the one thing I really value from them, even if they are doing that all the time, you know, the one thing I really value is that they remember history of us, right? And they remember what I knew before I knew this, or how I acted at one certain place. Like, so they are the only ones that are historians of my life, you know, that know me before I learned this, or, you know, where you kind of let the cat out of the bag, you know, like kind of thing, right? Like they actually know me. And so I really value those people. So even if they are kind of like repeating stuff, you know, I still, like, once in a while they're going to say something like, back in high school, you remember when you did this and then he did that? And, you know, I'll be like, oh, I did that? Really? I said that, and I can see myself. And then I remember back to being like that. So, yeah, I probably did say that. And then I think, what changed and how did I adapt? Like, what, you know, and they're the only ones. It's almost like if you travel too much and you only meet new people, then you're trapped in this thing where nobody knows the real you. You know, or it's not really the real you. It's the past you. And I think there's something to be learned from the past you. Because some of your reactions were like instinctual from who you are as a person, right? They kind of show who you are. And I find that for myself, to see myself, it helps me to put myself in perspective. And I integrate it into my new knowledge about myself. So I always like to go back and talk to them, and then get into conversations about stuff. And then we go to places that we went to before, and they're like, oh, you remember this happened? And a lot of times I don't remember. So they'll remember. They'll be like, oh, yeah, you remember this, you know? And then I'm like, oh, wow. And then it kind of like, sometimes I even remember things like for example, like as you get older, you forget who you were at a certain age. You just forget. You just kind of like that. That's like the ether. I'm not saying it's super important, but it is quite interesting to know. I guess what it does for me is it gives me empathy. So when I meet a young guy who is not good at something, I'm not. I can see that when I was young, I didn't know what I know. So I did this and I did that, and that was stupid, right? Or it didn't work, And then I'm like, oh, I did that, or I did something like that, or I hadn't learned yet, so I acted like this because I was trying to fit in, or I was trying to, I didn't know what else to do, or I thought this was the thing to do, And so I did this thing that on the surface looks stupid, but really when you look at it in perspective, with a guy with that level of knowledge, with that amount of friends, he's just going to go along with something because it's just easier. You know what I mean? You don't really know what else to say anyway. You just, yeah, that's a cool band, or that fucking awesome party, or whatever. You're just going to kind of go along with stuff. And you get older, you actually have vision, and you're like, you could say, well, everybody just got blind drunk and vomited all over the place. Like, that's not that fun. Like, I was at a party in Japan and like fucking 2 girls, blah, blah, blah. A lot more fun, right? Whereas, so I see the more I see myself when I was younger and my own journey, my own, like, what do you call it? Like climbing the mountain to become who you are, right? It does give me a lot of empathy for young guys, which I think is super valuable. So having those old friends, I think it's very unwise to jettison all your old friends. I mean, if your old friends died and stuff, or, you moved away and you can't find them, or you don't have brothers and sisters, or your parents divorced and passed away, I empathize with you because I still have people I can go back and just ask. Like, I can just say, like, what do you think I think about this? You know what I mean? Like a question like that. And they'll be like, I think you don't want to think about that, so you do this. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, true. And there's a level of honesty I have with my older friends that we overcome our boundaries, right? So, like, for example, the one guy I'm thinking about, he's quite religious, right? And he wants me to be. We were religious together, like in junior high school, and I'm not now. And he really wants me to be, but at the same time, I also we really value our friendship. Yeah. Just totally outside of these other things. He wishes I was like this, and you know what I mean. Like, we're able to get over things, And like some of the guys are very different, like models of politics and things. But when we're together, it's like super valuable. Like when we're just together. And there's one guy who dropped out, which is a bummer because he had like the best memory. So he remembered so much shit, right? And he was around the most too. So he like remembers a lot of things, right? So I really miss that kind of being able to delve into that when I go home. That's kind of what I do when I go back home. Like that's kind of like the conversations I have, the experiences I have. And so
kind of reclaim parts of yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you forget it, it's maybe there subconsciously, but it's not really on your radar. And then when someone's like, you remember that time when you did this? And then you're like laughing, you're like, oh my God, that's crazy, that's hilarious. I totally forgot that I did that.
And it also,
and you kind of appreciate yourself and that part of you, that phase of your life a little bit more.
Or you see like the shit you're pulling, right? You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's not always just, sometimes you're like, well, what am I doing, right?
Yeah.
The one thing too that is valuable, and we were talking about this yesterday on the beach, is that, or no, we're talking about it in the supermarket. So one thing I think is very, very important, I think as guys approach, like a lot of guys came to Summit, approached women and had, over the years, a lot of success, right? Guys have met girls, all kinds of things. Won't get into details, but is that as you become, let's say, become more attractive as a man. Okay, so let's say the guy is like a normal guy, insecurities, a little bit hard to talk to, and then he, over time, polishes his look, polishes his conversation, does better at work, and becomes like basically Chadamus Maximus, right? Whereas like just rolling through the girls, right? The danger with that, and this is a real danger for every guy, this is very serious, is that you need to remember who you are. And I know that's weird because you're like, no, I built myself into Chadamus Maximus. That's who I am, right? But, and you are. In certain circumstances, you are this new person. So or it could be like a rock star. You know, you're
Yeah.
you're Mick Jagger. You're fucking Donald Trump. You are that, but at the same time, you're totally not that, because when there's a little baby there, you're talking to, you know, dog or baby. Those creatures cannot understand any of the things that you built. Like money doesn't make sense to them. Haircuts make no sense. Clothes, you know, girls make no sense. Like nothing is at all resonates in their world. Their vision is like, how are you interacting with me? Am I laughing? Are we having fun? You know, are you taking care of me? You know, and making sure I get the food at the right time, you know. And so those things that bring you back to being just a man among men is, I think, is very, very important. Is that you build yourself into this guy who's kicking ass, but at the same time, you secretly know that you're just a fucking normal guy. You know, like when you see a bunch of truck drivers that haven't done any of this, right? Or just anybody, not necessarily truck driver, but just you see people that are not at all on the same wavelength. You realize you're just another guy. Like you're just sitting there and just talking about stuff, aches and pains, whatever the fuck it is. You're just a fucking totally 100% average normal guy. At the same time, because there's a place for that in your life. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's so important, actually, is to not get lost in your own success. If you get lost in your own success, you really are throwing yourself to the demons, because for many reasons. Because one is you won't always be Chadimus Maximus. You know, something will happen, age, war, injury, money, currency devaluation. Something will happen where you'll be back. You'll something at some point will take you down. And what saves you is the knowledge of yourself, which is the knowledge of the different selves, right? Yeah. Is that you're just a normal guy. You're just doing your best. You figured things out, and you followed those up, and maybe you had some benefits in the way you looked or something. You're like, it wasn't all just hard work, right? It was like you got some luck, you had some gifts, and you got this thing. And honestly, like a lot of people couldn't get that, even if they tried, right? You know what I mean? Not everybody can be a center in the NBA, right? It's just like some people are just super fucking tall, right? And there's other things that just are just the way they are. And you get out of this like grind. I earned everything. It's all mine. I'm this new person. It's like, I think that's very, very dangerous. I always want to hear, when my sister moved to Japan, it was really important for me because I was like really in many ways, you guys wouldn't even recognize me. I was just very different thinking, and I was the same person, but I was like just high on life. Like I was making money. I was just it was just so easy. I was just like, everything was just going great. I was making like $6,000 a night on investments. Like I just log in, the things are up, you know, making money at work and getting out with girls and like fucking just doing everything was just going, health was perfect, you know, like, you know, putting on muscle. Like I was just feeling like everything on top of the world every minute, you know. And when my sister came, just her looking at me, you know, like, she knew the old me. She hadn't, you know, she was kind of new in Japan, right? For her, I think it was kind of hard to believe what I had become at the moment, you know, and you could say that's bad. You know, I'm not saying like it was good for me because I'm her little brother, right? You know what I mean? And when she said something or whatever, or reminded me of something, it was very good for me. It was like, it brought me down from my, you know, elevated view of myself for a while. And you can't help it. If you fuck enough girls, you will get that. It's like, you're just the man, and you are. And it's true. And I want every guy to experience as much of that as possible. Like I want every guy to be at least 10% more Chad, or 40% more Chad, or 800,000% more Chad, right? Really, depending on who you are. I want every guy to experience that part of life. But if you really do nail it over the park and you just somehow just groove with it, and all of a sudden it's just like you just can't stop the girl sucking your dick. You're just like fucking just, no matter what, it's just everything's just rolling. You also, for your own benefit, to protect yourself through life, you always have to remember is I'm just so-and-so's little brother. I'm just like this guy in the neighborhood trying to figure life out. Now I figured out this one area, but it's like, who knows how long, who knows what's going to happen. Like, I'm just glad to be here. Like, it's almost like you have different parts, different selves, you have different selves. I think remembering you're a normal guy will give you peace. It will. Like, just going with a bunch of guys like that aren't doing anything you're doing. They're not trying to do anything. They don't shave, and they don't have never traveled, of course, and they have no interest in, and just sitting there with them and just being able to just talk to them and just in a truck stop or, wherever you are, like some roadside thing, and just realize like you're pretty similar to them in many ways, and you could have been just like them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could have been like, and you see what they could have been too, I'll say, fuck some of you kid, I'll see you work in the Starbucks, I'll be thinking, fuck, that guy could be rolling through the chicks in Japan. Like, he has no idea. Like, God, that's sad. Like, I'm so lucky that I did travel. And it's because I was able to, it's not about traveling. It's about, I was able to experience, everything, like the everything we're talking about, like the different ways of looking at things, the escape from rote mental roller coasters that never stop, or what do they call, like whirlwinds, or like funnels that pull you down. Like, just, I was able to kind of like just take myself into almost like a car, like in 100 parts on a table, right? And say, what's worth saving here? This is a good part here, that needs to be replaced. This needs to be sanded down and rusted, and then able to see myself like that way, and then rebuild myself into what I became as an adult, and as an adult man, which is, to be fair, is me. But, like, we're just, we're just on this planet for, it's like, at the end, we're just kind of like, looking up in the sky, like, is a fucking comet going to take us all out, Like, who fucking knows, right? In that sense, we're just, what do you call it? Subject to whatever the fuck happens, like, we're not, we never rise above that. So we take a shit, you take shit, sometimes diarrhea, you don't feel good.
No matter how cool you are.
Yeah.
Everyone shits their pants.
Everybody, it's just like, I never like that way of looking at it, because shit doesn't do it for me. But I think of just like big things, like I'm just so similar to like a dog or a kid, or they're just like doing their thing, and I've just put together. I've got more tricks, right? I know more things, like little things. I know that works. I know that works. I know that works. I know that doesn't work. I know you shouldn't do that. I just put together these kind of things that I guide me, but they're just little tricks, right? Like, they're knowledge, but it's tricks to do better, right? But in the end, I'm just one of the guys, right? Just cruising around. Just good things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. Like, I accept myself regardless. I'm happy. Like, I'm happy when I'm here. I'm happy when I'm here. I'm happy with life, and like, I think it's a wisdom in it, really accepting and enjoying life. And it's very real. That's what I got really from, like, traveling, really, was this kind of wisdom about myself. And that when I go home and I see people stuck in these like rigid things, and when girls, like, you can feel it when someone's talking to you and they're talking to you or they're not talking to you, right? And sometimes you just got to say, hey, are we interested in like communicating? Like, are you like saying ideas that we're going to talk about and you might change your mind on? Or is this like one of these things where you're just going to say certain things that are true and I'm just going to listen? Like, what are we doing here? Like, are we actually two humans talking, like, with ideas and different opinions, or what's going on here? You don't have to say it, but you can just say it to yourself even, and then you'll just be like, sometimes if I just say stuff like that to people, I'll just say like, are we having a discussion? Is this, what's going on here? And sometimes that'll snap them out of it. and they'll say, no, I'm open. And say, so you would change your mind on these things if there was a new idea or something, and it just the slightest crack, and that I think that kind of helps people to come down a little bit. It might have worked with that feminist girl, like maybe, like it might have, like if there's a certain humbleness to it too, and it's like a genuine asking, like because what you're doing when you ask it the right way is you're reflecting them back to themselves.
Yeah.
They're very ugly. They're acting very ugly, and you're reflecting it. Like, is this all there is with you? I mean, I just endure these kind of hidden insults or passive aggressive anger that has nothing to do with me from the past, or it's your belief about me. Like, is there any point in me talking? Are you just like done? And then she says, yeah, you're a man and you're like that. I say, well, that's interesting. Thanks for letting me know. And I just go. I would like literally just like pay the bill and leave.
Yeah.
Go eat somewhere else.
Yeah.
And just is it like? I think what it is, the only hope you have in that situation is this kind of like thing I've done a few times where I say it in a way that blows those people away, where they're just like, because they expect me to come at them with fire, right?
Yeah.
And I can see what they're doing. I'm like, is this just something I've been basically like, you're going to tell me these things and I just endure these things? Or is there anything you're curious about? Or would you like to know anything about things or me? Or is there anything you don't know you're interested in? Like, and then that might get them off the topic, because generally the topic is not a good topic, right?
Yeah.
You got to just get them off that topic somehow. Yeah, the fucking, whatever the fuck it is, right? And I think for myself, like, I think travel's the only way. I don't see how you could, like, I don't see how you could stay in Oklahoma City and not have a different point of view. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you were there, like, how would you, when you see it when you go home, right? How would you see, like, new things? Can you see anything now that you've been traveling for, you've been out and about, like, for 7 years, right?
Yeah, traveling around. I mean, I guess starting off, it's just realizing there's more to the world, and there's like not everything, because your entire life kind of growing up is built realizing, okay, there's a system, you do things this way, you climb the staircase, and then when you start out traveling, I'd say for me, I mean, it was just kind of like a shock traveling. I mean, it's just like kind of too much to take in at once. I'm just like, I'm still overseas. But once you kind of let it set in, it's just like, oh no, there's just this, like, life can be different. It's just the option that's available.
You were like 19 when you first came to the Thai Summit, or
yeah,
still 19?
Yeah,
Wow.
19, 20.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. That's a great time to travel.
So I mean, I just remember walking around in Thailand, just being like, just kind of almost in shock, like, oh, I'm here in this place that's like completely different. Just like, couldn't tell which way was up almost, or which way was up, which way was down. I was just like, whoa, everything's different. It's like, yeah, I just kind of remember that shock, and you don't have it, now that I'm more seasoned, I don't have that same feeling, but it's still, it's like super refreshing, like, just like getting back in Japan, and it's just, you're kind of almost welcome back into a, like, different way of life that's accepted here. It's like, okay, you don't have to be the person or operate the way you did before. You can do things in a completely new way, and it's like up to you to just kind of imagine and put together the best way to live. So, and then you can almost do it better because you've seen two different like spheres for life. You're like learning this new system, but then you have this view of how this old system works. So you can see more. You're not as rigid. So
I was thinking of specifics. Like what specific? Can you remember? Like I'll give you one for myself. Like in Japan, the girls, they don't like a guy like all muscly and huge. Like it's not a thing that they generally are looking for. I know that there are always going to be people who like that, but in general, the ones they like tend to be thin, muscular but thin, with veins. Basically, like the Korean boy band look with little muscle, like ripped stomach, and they don't like guys who. They like guys who follow directions and don't embarrass everybody. So they don't want like a boyfriend who's like leaving garbage on the table, like in McDonald's or wherever you're supposed to pick up your stuff. They don't like that. Like that is, like I know in like let's just say the hood, picking up your garbage is seen as like subservient. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
You just leave shit everywhere, and you're like, hey, what are you gonna do about it? And then just laugh at the staff, right, and leave, right? That's like masculine, right? Whereas like in Japan, that is not at all attractive to girls here at all. Like really, none of the girls, they don't like that. They want you to kind of like know how to act in public, and also too, they don't want to be all kissy in public either. They'll fuck you, like in on the beach at night, but like in public, like when people are around, they don't want you to be all, like. I think what it was is it freed me from kind of like my impressions of what I had to become to be with women. Like in the West, they always say you got to be a bad boy. A lot of guys like it seems like, you got to have tattoos. You got to be like jacked and on steroids. You got to have this kind of car. You got to do this. And I found in Japan, like you can be pretty nice guy. But you got to have a heart. There's a certain thing. I'm not saying you can be exactly a nice guy like in America, because there's a level of nice guy. Nobody likes simps, right? But
You don't have to be an asshole.
I could be more myself here.
Yeah.
Like my natural state, I could be more like I am with girls, and that was very comfortable. I didn't have to be another person.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like in the U.S., like a lot of people expected that. Not with girls I was around. Girls always liked me, like when I was around girls. Like girls liked me in college and high school and everything. But at least everybody else believed that. So I guess I believed it, that you had to be this quote unquote bad boy, whatever that is. And no one ever defines it, right? And nobody ever really, you know what I mean? I guess the media tries to tell you what's going on, but I mean, best way to be good with women is go talk to women, right? Go get started interacting, right? Yeah. Not being like it's interaction with people like we're talking about. I'm talking to you, right? We're talking, and then it's not like I'm alone doing all these things to myself, and then I'm going to present myself to you. I'm going to be attractive. It's like, no, it's just interacting and communicating, finding people you groove with, turning it sexual. Letting him know, turning sexual, fucking closing the deal, and didn't have to be another person. You could be like a nice guy, Chad here, and I really like that. I think that's more human. I think the Japanese way of doing a lot of things is much more human, and so it allows you to keep that part of yourself. You don't have to become like cynical or angry, or you know what I mean? You can be yourself. I have found that to be more like that here. So that was one thing I broke out of. I realized I could relax. I can relax. It'll work out for me somehow here. You know, girls are going to find me attractive.
Right.
And that might be partly because they find the way I look attractive. You know, so it might be that. Anyway, how I internally took it was that I could just relax and be myself, right? Whereas I felt like I had to be something else when I went to New York or something, right? I had to wear certain clothes. I had to, you know. Whereas here, I feel like I can just kind of go anywhere, be myself. I know the rules here, so I can follow those when I need to, but I can just be myself, right? Eating vegetables in front of the supermarket, you know.
Yeah.
Girls just, oishi, you know, come up and talk to you, right? You know, so. Yeah, like being yourself. That was what I found. Maybe your culture, your home culture is not the best place for you to be yourself. Like, you know what I mean? You know, maybe it's not designed for you, you know? Like I remember I used to look at like magazines, and every single girl that was in the magazines in the 70s, they were never hot. To me. I didn't find them attractive, but I thought I had to, right? It was like these women, these blonde women with huge tits and this and that. And I thought Phoebe Cates was like smoking hot. Like I mean, like Phoebe Cates, man, in Paradise, the movie Paradise, and in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I just thought she was smoking. Then I found out later she was half Chinese, right? You know, so like it was like I found her soft look very attractive and skinny, you know, like that. I found that the kind of feminine, a little bit smaller, you know, feminine look was very attractive to me. And so not only did I have to become something else, but in America, there wasn't even that much that I wanted. It was like I'm fishing in the wrong lake, right? Like the fish I'm trying to catch don't exist in the lake. You know, they're not there. You know, doesn't matter what bait they're not in that fucking lake. You got to go to another lake where they have those fish, right? So I didn't find them, you know. And then whenever I see like Asian girls that are Asian American, I can be friends with them and they can be quite cool. But I don't find them attractive because it's not about the body and the face. To me, it's more the culture and the personality that's attractive. As soon as an Asian girl goes to America for too long, or you know, like someone goes there has a kid there, I don't find them attractive anymore. Basically, you know, it's just the way it is. They're much more. The culture is much more feminine. You know, it's just yeah. I find it hot. It makes me hard. It makes me want to fuck them. You know, it's like thank God for travel. Like you find what actually makes you inspired to do stuff, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That is the beauty of life. Is that you go to a supermarket. The reason why they have 20,000 items is because you got to go through them all to find out what you want, right? And like women these days, you don't have the right to travel. You don't have the right to have any opinion. You don't have the right to, you know, anything you can think of. That's a heavy one for me. I could be myself.
Yeah, as far as like small details, I mean, yeah, I guess nothing really beyond you wouldn't see in like some other video, like, oh, in Japan they don't have trash cans everywhere. You gotta hold on to your trash.
What did you discover about yourself?
Like I feel more alive over here. Like I feel like life is kind of worth living over here, where it's not worth living in America.
It's probably
basically
because of the women. I'm guessing.
Maybe. Yeah.
You're still really high testosterone. You're like, you know that something might happen tonight, right?
Right.
Like you might be making out with some girl by the shrine tonight, right? You know.
Right.
Me too. Yeah. You're wanted. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like, in an interesting way, even a regular life feels more interesting and possible here. Like, whatever a regular life is, like whatever it is you want to do, you know, like, how do I explain it? Yeah, it's just that feeling of like, yeah, like anything is possible, and you could see yourself having things here that maybe you wouldn't let yourself or go down that path or be able to do back home. And so,
like a business or something.
Yeah, we're talking about business. We're always talking about business ideas and even like, you know, I could even see myself having a family out here, but I'm not gonna do that back there. There's no point. even though I would like to have one, and at the same time, I don't have to, but I could see it happening. There's possibilities. There's new doors that you can go through out here. And you nailed it on the head about, Paul, about being able to be yourself out here. You don't have to play some character, some role, or act a certain way that you picked up and back home, wherever you're from, because that was the way that everyone expected you to act, behave, or that was the character you were assigned, or the box that you found yourself in. Like out here, you can allow yourself to become and discover, I guess, the truest version of yourself, while still you can maintain and keep all those aspects of yourself that you developed over the years, but you can grow into something new out here. You can just be your general self without having to cover it up, and find that people like that. They like you for who you are. That's so good. I think a lot of guys, they do feel like they have to, and maybe they do, have to behave or act a certain way to get attention or affection, or girls to like them back home. And then you come out here and those same behaviors don't work. It's the opposite. It's like, people kind of look at you like, oh, this guy's weird. But you can be just a genuine human being, and people will respond nicely to that. And so that's really cool. And the friendships that you make are, out here, whether if it's from, of fellow travelers along the way, which are probably some of the best friends because you all share something in common, or even the friends that you make out here that just, they don't have any of these past ideas about you. They're just seeing you for who you are right now in this moment. Right. And they like you or not, right? And if they like you, like, oh, yeah. That's like, you're truly can be liked and accepted for who you are in the moment, as you are now. Not for some accomplishment you did, or the trophies you won, or whatever, things you did.
Mistakes you made.
Your mistakes you made, yeah.
You have.
It's none of it.
Family was this way.
Yeah, you're a clean slate, if you choose to be, because you can, a lot of us, we bring all that from back. We drag it all, like in our luggage, basically. We drag all that old shit with us, but you don't have to. You can just let it go.
Remember the guy with the cowboy hat walking down the beach?
Yeah.
Yeah, like jeans and a cowboy hat. There was a guy down right here at the beach. It's like this super happening beach we're at, right? This girl's fucking on fire. Summertime, like right now outside is just like blazing heat. Girls in bikinis, right? And he walks down the street, cowboy hat, jeans. I think he had cowboy boots. He had some kind of boots, right?
He had a
belt buckle. And he was like, and it was like, it's like 1,000,000 degrees, right? Like the last thing you want to do is wear a fucking hat, right? It's like, like a fucking jeans, like no way, right? I haven't even worn shoes on this trip, except for in the gym, right? It's too hot, right? Your feet are going to be sweating, right? And then there's people like that. And it's interesting, like, to see people when they first start traveling. Like, one of the best examples is I'll just call him B, right? Who came to the summit, right? When I first talked to him, all he mentioned was, I'm a Marine, and it was like, everything was like from the perspective of the persona of a Marine, and as time passes, as he travels, now he's been to Cambodia, he was at Vegas Summit, then Cambodia Summit, and then we went to Thailand together, and then now he's in Japan for a pretty long time, right? It's been almost 2 or 3 weeks, right? And I see he is like, you kind of lost in the beginning because you're like, wait, I'm a Marine. But the thing is, Japanese have no idea what that means. Like that, when you say that back home, everybody has a belief about, oh, they're the first ones to go in. Oh, they do this. Oh, they're like this. But when you tell the Japanese, it's kind of like saying, like, I am a spotted owl or something. They're like, what? Oh, okay. Yeah. So what do you want to do? You hungry? There's no concept of what it is, right? And so you kind of like have a choice. You're like, am I going to tell a big long lecture about that, what that means to every person I meet, and they're going to have these garbled understandings of what I'm explaining, and then they're going to praise me for this concept that I have of who I am, or am I just going to realize
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It was a concept I had. Like, I wasn't a Marine before I was a Marine, right?
Yeah.
So I was born not a Marine. I was like born this, like, little kid, right? Cruising around.
This
Cowboys
one
and
just, like,
Indians.
should smile.
Yeah. and then I went through this. And then I did this thing, which had a big impression on me, you know, obviously. But at the same time, you start to be able to unpack that a little bit. You know, you still obviously are very influenced by stuff like that, and you value it, or you might not value it. It depends over time, you know. But I guess you don't see it as, at the very least, you don't see it as a set package anymore, because people around you can't possibly agree with you because they don't even know what you're talking about. So you almost have to tell them, oh, when I was young, I had low self-esteem, and then I did this. And then I did this, and then I did this in school. I didn't get very good grades. You have to kind of like tell them your low self-esteem image of yourself. And they're like, oh, so you're kind of like this guy I went to school with. Oh, I see. Meanwhile, they're looking at you like a total stud, a totally cool guy. And like, you're like, whoa, that wasn't very smart. You know, that was not smart. You know, like just roll with whatever's going in the moment, right? They think you're a cool guy. You're a fucking cool guy, right? Every girl's running emotion. It is what it is. There is nothing real or not real. You know, they're stoked on you. They're stoked on you. You accept that. Just, hey, what's going on, girls? Hey, you know, orange, avocado. You know, just don't give a shit. You know.
But it's also like the most. The what we're laughing at is two of my favorite moments of meeting cute girls out here. And it was just in the moment, spontaneous, genuine, no trick, no scheme, no gimmick, no pickup line that works every time, no perfect outfit. We're sitting there eating. I got an orange in my hand. It's my final thing to eat. I'm really stoked on this orange. Two sweetie pies walk by, and I just see them over the shoulder. They kind of look at me and smile, and I just go, orange? And I just hold them orange. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you want some orange? I'm just about to eat it. And they go, sure. And they go walk over. And then I just talked to them over the fence and just like letting them open the orange for me, which is actually kind of good because I hadn't started eating it yet, you know. And then they had ice cream, and I was like, ooh, that looks good. And so they gave me some of their ice cream, and I gave them some of my orange. And it was the most like, it was like the purest, simplest thing. Like, there we are, you know. Paul and I both got girls just hanging out there eating food on the harbor. Just, we're not trying to do anything. We're not trying to be anybody. We're just doing our thing. We're just watching the sunset, watching the birds fly over, and laughing and just eating food. In a beautiful place. So and then here someone comes by, and then you just kind of, you're open to that connection. You're open to meeting someone and just seeing, oh, what's going on.
And even that old lady who came up. That old lady, right? She was interesting. I don't remember the exact words she used in Japanese, but she basically said, you guys are doing it right.
Yeah.
Like, we were laughing.
Doing, yeah.
We were like two friends sitting in the perfect place in the shade. It's like a beautiful golden hour, right? Going on the boats, and it's a real clean harbor. You can jump in the water. You know, you could fucking drink the water. You know, it's not no pollution, right? It's on the end of the peninsula. There's no industry around here. And we're just sitting there, sound of cicadas. I can't think of English. Cicadas like buzzing everywhere. Yeah. It's Japanese summer, you know. And we had this like super tasty Japanese food. Like, we had all kinds of good Japanese food, right? Those fried shrimp things. We had amazing. Those were great. We had like that. What did we have? Like, what else we have that day? We had a lot of good shit.
We had the squid jerky.
Oh, squid jerky, like squid beef jerky, basically.
Yeah, we had fish. We had veggies.
Octopus. We had you had the other kind of squid with the spicy squid.
Yeah.
The baby size spicy squid. And
and we grabbed some fruit. I had a near beer. Tried this new near beer by Kieran. So it's like no alcohol, but tastes good. And we're just sitting there, just like enjoying life and just being there in the moment, hanging out. There's nothing else to do. Just look at the way the sun's hitting this peak, this mountain with all these trees and rocks on it, and the way it's like the water's moving, the breeze coming up, the sounds of just being here, the sounds of life.
And then the vibe, like the old lady saw it.
Yeah.
She's just like, that's what it's about, you know?
And she was so excited that she saw we were appreciating it and living that way. Yeah.
We should have known, like, we had it going on when the old lady stopped. Japanese old ladies don't stop and say stuff like that. She was just like, wow, that's it. Japanese summer, you guys are fucking doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we got all this food from the grocery store, right? But we didn't eat, in the grocery store. We didn't eat in a restaurant. We were eating there by ourselves on the pier. And just, like, perfect scenery, perfect location, The nicest restaurant in the world would try to get that kind of view,
Yeah.
But we had it for free.
Yeah.
Sitting there, just hanging out. And that was the best thing to do. That was the moment.
Every once in a while, old Japanese people will just tell me something like that. Like, I was with this girl, and she was, like, very attractive. She was, like, 19, super hot. And she was, like, really in love with me at that moment. And we had just made love, and, like, all these people saw us. And it was a long story. This boat pulled up behind this building. Didn't mean to, but it was, like, it all happened. She was just, like, on cloud 9 about me. And it was a beautiful day. It was perfect. We'd walked out this little lane. We walked back, and then we were buying, like, some kind of snack or something. And the old lady looks at me, and she goes, like, basically, like, you're a very lucky man. Don't forget this moment. Basically, she said to me in Japanese. And I was like, because I couldn't see the moment, because I had a bunch of girls at the time. And then I just all of a sudden saw myself from the outside. And I realized it was going to end. You know what I mean? Like, I was on a peak, and this girl was on a peak. And it was just a beautiful moment, right? And that's what life is. It's these snapshots, these days, right? They don't last, right? It's just like enjoying these snapshots. And she helped me to see it for what it was. It was this beautiful, like, I was the luckiest guy in the world. I think she said, you're like the luckiest guy in the world to have a girl in love with you like this. And she said it right in front of the girl, but the girl was, literally, she was so in love, she didn't even hear it. She was like standing there like an NPC. And the girl's just telling me, it was like me and her communicating. And I looked at her and I looked at the weather, I just thought, this is a beautiful moment. You know what I mean? And then I remembered it, because she's pointed it out, right? Anything else? All right, yeah, so there you go. That's it, man. I want to see the real thing, and it's like the real thing. Let's go do it again today. Yeah. Even though I fucking got a cold. I'm taking cold medicine, but I'm feeling pretty good. I had 2 good nights sleep.
Endless summer, baby.
Oh, endless. It is definitely endless summer today. We got to get the fuck out of this room. All right, guys, take it easy.